You planned a surprise trip to Rome for my 70th birthday, then left me stranded there with no hotel, no money, and no way home. My own son called me a burden, and while I was 6,000 miles away, he used that fake gift to try and steal my trust fund. I gave up art school, sold my mother's sapphire necklace, skipped meals just to keep him fed, and in college. And this is how he thanked me. But in just 10 days, I turned his lies into legal proof and rebuilt my family, one truth, one daughter, and one lavender candle at a time. He forged power of attorney documents, smashed my late husband's watch, and told my daughter I was losing my mind, until my granddaughter found a letter that exposed everything. If you've ever felt invisible, discarded, or used, don't scroll, because what I found in my attic changed everything. Before I tell you how my birthday turned into heartbreak, can I ask you something simple? Do you love sons more or daughters more? Drop a 1 in the comments if your heart belongs to your son, a 2. If it's your daughter who lights up your world, or a 3. If both are your everything. I read every comment and I might just send you a little surprise hello. Now come walk through this story with me. My 70th birthday should have glowed with love. Ryan's cruel words turned my heart to ash. I stood in my kitchen, the scent of apple pie wafting from the counter, its golden crust still warm from the oven. July 2024 painted my suburban California home in soft light, the yellow walls catching the evening sun. Bill's sketchbook sat tucked on the mantel, its pages holding dreams of art school I'd traded for my kids' futures. The porch swing creaked outside a rhythm I'd always loved. I adjusted my green dress, the one Ryan once said made me look like spring, and set the dining table. Plates clattered as I laid them out, each one a memory of family dinners long gone. I'd sold my mother's sapphire necklace to pay for Ryan's college, telling myself it was worth it to see him walk that graduation stage. My fingers brushed the tablecloth, smoothing it, hoping tonight would stitch us back together. Rosa Martinez slipped into the kitchen, her silver earrings glinting. Joe Ryan's acting off, she whispered, her voice low, sharp. Watch him. Her dark eyes held a warning, pulling from her own years of estrangement, from her daughter now healed but never forgotten. I smiled, brushing it off. He's just busy, Rosa. My heart clung to hope, picturing Ryan's boyish grin from years ago when he'd hug me and call me his hero. I wanted that boy tonight, not the distracted man he'd become. The dining room buzzed with neighbors, their chatter a warm hum, but tension crackled underneath like static before a storm. I carried the pie to the table, its cinnamon scent mixing with the lavender candles flickering in the center. Neighbors smiled, forks clinking against plates. Ryan slouched in his chair, eyes glued to his phone, fingers tapping furiously. Emily, my daughter, wasn't there. I'd heard she skipped the party still sore about me missing her 30th birthday years ago. I'd been working double shifts at the hospital, then trying to keep the lights on after Bill died. My chest tightened at her absence, but I raised my glass voice steady. To family, I started to all we've built together. My words felt fragile, hopeful like a prayer. Ryan's head snapped up. You're a burden now, Mom. He barked loud enough for the room to freeze. Forks stopped mid-air, clinking awkwardly against plates. My glass trembled in my hand, wine sloshing. Neighbors stared, their whispers fading. My face burned, the green dress suddenly heavy. Ryan! I managed, voice cracking. What are you saying? He smirked, leaning back. You lean on us too much. Always have. The words cut deeper than any knife, each syllable a denial of the nights I went hungry, so he could eat the overtime. I worked for his tuition. Rosa's hand found mine under the table, squeezing tight, her protective streak flaring. I wanted to sink into the floor, but I held my ground eyes locked on Ryan. Then he stood his chair, scraping the hardwood. But I've got a surprise, Mom, he said, voice softening, almost mocking. A trip to Rome. Your dream, right? My breath caught. Rome, the Colosseum, the aqueducts I'd read about them to Ryan when he was small, my voice alive with wonder. Tears pricked my eyes. Ryan, really, I whispered. He nodded, a glint in his eyes I couldn't read. "It's all set. Happy birthday." The neighbors clapped, breaking the tension, but Rosa's grip tightened, her brow furrowed. My heart lifted, clinging to the gift as proof he still cared, despite the sting of his words. Later, alone with Rosa in the kitchen, I beamed, folding napkins for no reason. Rome, Rosa. He remembered. The apple pie sat half-eaten, its sweetness now a faint comfort. Rosa leaned close, her perfume sharp. "Check the itinerary, Joe. Something's not right." Her voice carried the weight of her own battles, the years she lost with her daughter before they reconciled. I shook my head, laughing softly. "He's my son. He loves me." I reached for my purse to grab my phone, but my fingers brushed a folded note instead. I pulled it out, my pulse quickening. Ryan's handwriting stared back. "Rome will fix everything." My heart soared, seeing it as love, ignoring the odd choice of words. Rosa's eyes narrowed, but I tucked the note away, already imagining cobblestone streets. What did I know about love? I'd poured mine into Ryan and Emily, giving up art school for Bill's dreams, selling jewelry to keep them fed. Bill's sketchbook, gathering dust on the mantel, held sketches of a life I never lived. Ryan's insult echoed a burden, but the Rome trip dulled its edge, a flicker of hope in the hurt. I smoothed my dress, the green fabric catching the candlelight, and told myself he didn't mean it. Mothers forgive, don't we? We see the boy in the man, the love in the cruelty. But Rosa's warning lingered, a shadow I couldn't shake. The dining room emptied, neighbors' voices fading as they stepped into the night. The porch swing creaked, a lonely sound. I stood alone, the note in my hand, its words circling in my mind. Rome will fix everything. A chill crept up my spine. What did Ryan mean by fix? Was I ever enough for them? Rome's airport sparkled with promise. Ryan's message shattered it like glass. The marble floor stretched cold beneath my feet, mirroring the chill in my chest. Rome's airport buzzed, a chaos of foreign voices, swirling Italian, French, something sharp I couldn't place. Signs loomed overhead, unreadable, their arrows mocking my disorientation. My bare finger, where Bill's ring once sat, stung with lost trust, pawned years ago to cover Ryan's college tuition. The hum of travelers grated their rolling suitcases, clattering like my racing heart. I'd landed expecting wonder, my first step toward the Colosseum, a dream I'd whispered to Ryan as a boy. Instead, my phone flickered, the battery at 2%, and his text glowed. "See if you can manage alone. Happy birthday, Mom." My knees buckled. I slumped onto a bench, the metal biting through my thin dress. No hotel, no money, no return flight. My purse held a single credit card, useless. Ryan had promised it was set for international use. He'd insisted on handling everything, his voice smooth on the phone last week. "Relax, Mom. I've got this." I'd believed him, picturing the boy who'd clung to me after Bill died, not this stranger who'd abandoned me. My chest tightened, a vice of shock and hurt. I fumbled with my phone, but the screen went black dead as my trust. My fingers shook, clutching my boarding pass, the only paper I'd insisted on printing. Ryan's note from last night. "Rome will fix everything," burned in my memory. Fix what? Me, our family. My throat closed, hurt, swallowing me whole. A young couple approached, their American accents a lifeline in the chaos. The woman, blonde with kind eyes, tilted her head. "You okay, ma'am?" Her voice was soft, like the California coffee shop I craved, its familiar hum of espresso machines and chatter. I shook my head. Words stuck. "My phone's dead. I'm stranded." Her husband handed me his phone, its screen warm in my palm. "Take your time," he said, his smile steady. I dialed Rosa, my best friend. My fingers trembling, the line crackled, then her voice burst through. "Joe, where are you?" I swallowed, voice breaking. "Rome." He left me Rosa. "No hotel, no money." Her gasp was sharp. "That snake, I'm checking your house right now." Rosa's urgency, honed by her own years of estrangement from her daughter, lit a spark in me. I recalled Ryan's insistence on carrying my documents, his eyes avoiding mine at the airport drop-off. My hurt began to smolder. anger flickering beneath. The couple stood nearby, pretending not to listen their kindness, a quiet anchor. I thanked them, handing back the phone, but the woman hesitated. "Check your email if you can," she said. "Might be something there." I nodded her words, nudging me forward. Using their phone again, I logged into my old Gmail account, the password a shaky memory. What would hurt more, being abandoned in a foreign country or finding out your own child has been planning to erase you behind your back? This next part broke something in her that might never fully heal. If you've ever trusted someone who saw you as a problem to solve, drop a 6 in the comments, because this part still stings. An email from Ryan to Emily glowed. Sent hours ago, Mom's losing it. We need to secure the future. My jaw clenched, teeth grinding. Secure what? My house, my savings. The sacrifices I'd made. Selling Bill's ring. Skipping meals to feed Ryan flashed through me, each one a wound. He was painting me as incompetent, a frail old woman to be managed. My fingers curled into fists, nails biting my palms. Anger surged, a defiant spark catching fire. I'd raised Ryan alone after Bill's death, working night shifts at the hospital, scrubbing floors to pay his tuition. Love was sacrifice, I'd told myself, believing it would build a son who cared. Now his betrayal lay bare cold as the marble beneath me. But mothers don't break, do we? We bend, we endure, and then we fight. Rosa's voice echoed in my head. "I'm checking your house." My resolve hardened, a steel rod in my spine. I'd get home. I'd face Ryan, not for him, but for me. The airport's hum faded, my pulse loud in my ears. I looked at the couple, their faces soft with concern, and nodded. "I'll be okay," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The email's words burned in my mind, a beacon of Ryan's greed. What future was he securing my home? My life, I stood the bench's cold metal releasing me. I'd find a way back, not because Ryan thought I couldn't, but because I knew I could. Did my love build him or break me? Ryan's emails were a knife in my heart. He wasn't my son, he was my betrayer. The Rome Cafe wrapped me in the scent of espresso cups clinking softly as evening light cast long shadows. The faded awning swayed outside, echoing my fraying trust. I sat at a corner table, the borrowed tablet glowing its screen, a window to Ryan's deceit. My wrist felt bare, haunted by Bill's watch pawned years ago for Ryan's SAT tutor, a sacrifice he'd now spit on. I missed the farmers' market flowers back home, their vibrant petals a symbol of the warmth I'd built for my kids. Here in this foreign place, that warmth felt like a ghost. My fingers hovered over the tablet, shaking as I opened my email, Ryan's words waiting like a trap. The first message hit like a slap. Mom's losing it. She repeats stories, forgets things. Sent to Emily, my daughter, who hadn't shown up to my birthday dinner. Another email forwarded from that night twisted the knife deeper. She never did anything for me. Ryan's voice from the dinner rang in my head, his cruel shout, "You're a burden now." Mom echoing in front of neighbors. My hands trembled, coffee cup rattling against its saucer. I'd skipped meals to buy his school supplies, worked double shifts to keep him fed after Bill died. How dare he erase that? My chest burned, hurt, melting into anger, sharp and hot. The cafe's hum faded, voices blurring as I stared at the screen, each word a betrayal. My phone buzzed, Rosa's text, flashing Ryan's in your attic. "Joe, something's not right." My breath caught. Rosa, my best friend, had fought her own battles, losing her daughter for years before they reconciled. Her urgency now lit a fire in me. I pictured my attic dusty with Bill's old sketches and my art supplies sold off to pay for Ryan's college prep. I'd believed in him, seen his graduation as my victory. Now he was rummaging through my home, plotting while I sat stranded in Rome. My jaw tightened, fingers typing back. I'm coming home. Anger surged, drowning the hurt. Ryan wasn't just neglecting me, he was stealing my life. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me. The cafe's espresso scent grounded me, but my mind raced. Ryan's emails weren't careless. They were calculated, painting me as incompetent to control my finances, my home. His failed business, a string of bad investments he'd hidden, flashed through my mind. He'd borrowed money from me last year, promising to pay it back, his smile too slick. I trusted that smile, the same one he'd flashed as a boy when I packed his lunches. But this wasn't my boy. This was a man betting I'd break. My fingers curled into fists, nails biting my palms. Mothers don't just bend, we fight back. The tablet screen dimmed, but Ryan's words stayed sharp. Secure the future. What future? My savings. The house Bill and I built, I recalled the nights I stayed up stitching Ryan's torn jackets, telling myself love was enough. Love built homes, not lies. Rosa's text burned brighter. Ryan's in your attic. My attic, where I kept Bill's old desk, his sketches of our early days when I gave up art school for his dreams. Something was hidden there, something Ryan wanted. My resolve sharpened the cafe's clinking cups, fading as I stood spine straight. I'd get home. I'd stop him. Not for him, but for me. A waitress glanced over her apron stained with coffee. "Senora, okay?" She asked, her broken English kind. I nodded, forcing a smile, my heart pounding like a drum. The awning outside flapped a reminder of the world moving on while I fought to reclaim mine. Rosa's words echoed her loyalty, a mirror of her own fight to win back her daughter. I wasn't alone. Emily, though absent, might still be reachable. Her absence tied to that missed birthday I'd never explained. I'd make it right. But first, Ryan. His greed, rooted in his business failures, had turned him into a stranger. My anger flared a fire I'd carry home. I tapped the tablet, closing the email, but its words lingered, a map of Ryan's scheme. The cafe's evening shadows stretched long, like the distance between the mother I was and the fighter I'd become. I'd raised Ryan, given him everything, my art, my savings, my heart. Now he was in my attic searching for more. Rosa's text pulsed in my mind, a warning I couldn't ignore. What was he hiding up there? Did I raise a son or just a thief? Rome's chaos swallowed me whole. Kathy Walsh's voice was a lifeline, pulling me back. The small Rome cafe glowed a faint haven against my fear. Espresso scents curled through the air, mingling with soft jazz from a tinny radio. Evening light softened the faded awning outside, swaying like my fragile hope. I sat trembling at a wobbly table, the borrowed tablet dimming in my hands. Ryan's email from earlier, Mom's losing it. We need to secure the future, stabbed at me, his betrayal sharper than the cold marble of the airport. Bill's sketch of me, tucked in my bag, whispered strength I'd forgotten drawn when I gave up art school for his career, for our kids. My fingers grazed the bag's zipper, seeking that memory. The jazz, warm like a California summer, felt like home, but Rome's foreign hum kept me adrift. I sipped coffee, the cup clinking against its saucer, my hands unsteady. Ryan's lies burned. She never did anything for me. He'd said it at my birthday dinner, denying the years I'd gone hungry to buy his books, the nights I'd stitched his dreams together. My chest ached, hurt twisting into anger. A woman at the next table glanced over her wool coat, neat, her face kind. "You all right?" she asked, her American accent, a jolt of familiarity. I shook my head, tears spilling. "I'm stranded. My son." My voice broke. She slid into the chair across from me, her eyes soft. "I'm Kathy Walsh. Tell me." Her warmth, like the jazz on the radio, pulled me in. I spilled it, Ryan's text, the missing hotel, no money. Kathy's jaw tightened, and she handed me a plane ticket. "Get home." "Fight back," she said, pressing a small recorder into my palm. "Listen to this. My friend's nephew stole her life. Don't let it happen to you." Her words, sharp with empathy, sparked something in me. I played the recording, her friend's voice crackling. They hid the money for years, thinking I wouldn't notice. My breath caught. Money. Ryan's email echoed secure the future. Was he after something? Bill left. My phone buzzed Rosa's call, cutting through the jazz. Joe Ryan's after Bill's estate, she said, voice sharp. "I lost my daughter once, don't let him take you." Rosa's past her years of estrangement from her daughter fueled her urgency. I nodded, though she couldn't see, recalling the art school I'd abandoned for Bill's dreams for Ryan and Emily. My fingers clenched, the recorder, anger rising. "He won't," I said, my voice low but firm. I emailed Daniel Cohen, my lawyer, typing fast, "Start the fight." The cafe's clinking cups faded, Kathy's gaze steady on me. She'd seen betrayal too, and her kindness felt like a bridge back to myself. Daniel's reply came quick. "Filing injunctions now. Get home." I leaned back, the chair creaking jazz, weaving through my thoughts. Rosa's fire. Kathy's story, they were my anchors. I'd trusted Ryan believed his Rome gift was love, but it was a trap. I pictured him at my birthday dinner, smirking after calling me a burden, his eyes cold. My sacrifices, selling my mother's necklace, skipping meals, meant nothing to him. But love wasn't just giving, was it? It was fighting for what mattered. Kathy touched my arm. "You're stronger than he thinks." Her words landed like Bill's old promises, steadying me. The cafe's warmth wrapped around me like the California home I'd reclaim. I stood, bag in hand, Bill's sketch, a quiet weight inside. The awning swayed, the jazz radio humming low. Rosa's voice, Daniel's plan, Kathy's recorder. They were my army. Ryan thought he could erase me, hide me in Rome's chaos. But I was already moving my resolve, a fire he couldn't douse. The recording's words lingered sharp as a warning. They hid the money for years. What money was Ryan hiding? Can a stranger's heart outweigh a son's betrayal? Emily's tears broke me open. Sophie's envelope cracked Ryan's lies wide. The jet engine's hum still rang in my ears as I stepped into my California home. The yellow walls dim under the weight of Ryan's betrayal. His email, "Mom's losing it," burned in my mind, a wound deepened by his dinner taunt. She never did anything for me. My living room, once warm with laughter, felt violated, like Ryan had already stolen its heart. The scent of grilled chicken drifted from the kitchen, a faint promise of hope. Bill's locked box, untouched in my closet since his death, seemed to hum with secrets, as if he'd known I'd need him now. I smoothed my dress, my fingers trembling, anger a tight knot in my chest. Emily met me at the door, her face streaked with tears. "I believed Ryan's lies, Mom," she sobbed, her voice raw. "I was wrong about you missing my 30th birthday." Her words hit like a wave, pulling me back to that year I worked double shifts at the hospital, missing her party to keep the lights on after Bill died. I pulled her close, her hair soft against my cheek. "I'm here now," I whispered, the grilled chicken's aroma wrapping us in a fragile warmth. Emily's guilt tied to that misunderstanding poured out as she clutched my hand. "I should have seen your strength," she said, eyes wet. My heart ached, but her remorse sparked a flicker of hope, tempering my anger at Ryan. The living room's yellow glow softened a tentative bridge between us. Sophie, my granddaughter, bounded in her sneakers, squeaking on the hardwood. Her eyes, wide with worry, locked on mine. "Dad's been sneaky, Grandma," she said, holding out a crumpled financial document from Ryan's desk. I scanned it, my pulse racing. Trust fund jumped out, scrawled in Ryan's handwriting, tied to an account I didn't know. My breath caught anger flaring. Ryan's greed, rooted in his failed business ventures, was clearer now. I'd sold my mother's necklace for his college, gone hungry for his books, and now he was chasing Bill's legacy. Sophie's voice shook. "He was in your office looking for something." My jaw tightened, the document's weight heavy in my hand. Emily gasped, reading over my shoulder, her face pale. "He lied to me too," she whispered, her support hardening. I sank onto the couch, the cushions sighing under me. The grilled chicken scent lingered, a symbol of Emily's attempt to mend us. I pictured Ryan at my birthday dinner, his smirk as he called me a burden, his email claiming I'd done nothing. Each lie was a brick in his plan to declare me incompetent, to seize control. But love wasn't just sacrifice, it was standing up. I'd fought for Ryan and Emily, giving up art school for Bill's dreams, believing it built a family. Now Emily's tears and Sophie's loyalty were my anchors. Sophie knelt beside me, her voice soft. I checked the attic, Grandma. "Found this." She handed me a sealed envelope, Bill's handwriting scrawled across it for Joe. My heart stopped, fingers tracing the ink. Sophie's love for my art stories, her letter praising my strength shone in her eyes. "It's Grandpa's," she said, voice trembling. The envelope seal glinted a hidden truth, waiting. My anger surged, a fire fed by Ryan's lies and Sophie's find. This was no accident. Ryan's rummaging, his emails, his dinner insult, all pointed to a trust fund he wanted. The subclimax hit me like a storm. He was stealing my legacy, Bill's gift to me. I stood the floor, creaking my resolve, a steel rod. "We'll stop him," I said, Emily nodding Sophie's hand in mine. The grilled chicken's warmth faded, but our unity grew, a new family forming in the wreckage. Ryan's greed tied to his business debts had pushed him too far. Emily's remorse born from that missed birthday drove her to my side. Sophie's loyalty rooted in our shared moments was my light. I clutched the envelope, its weight, a promise and a question. Bill's box in the closet, locked since his death, seemed to pulse as if he'd left me more than memories. The living room's yellow walls held us tense but hopeful as I vowed to uncover Ryan's scheme. Mothers don't just endure, we fight, we rise. The envelope seal glinted a challenge I'd meet. What did Bill hide? Did he leave me a shield or a new wound? Bill's trust fund was my secret lifeline. Ryan wanted it to drown me. Daniel Cohen's law office was a clutter of files, the sharp scent of coffee cutting through the air. The late afternoon sun glowed through the window, bathing the California suburbs outside in gold, grounding my resolve. Bill's old desk, where he'd sketched our dreams before cancer took him, sat in my memory, hiding more than sketches now. I leaned against Daniel's desk, its edge biting into my palms. Ryan's email from Rome. Mom's losing it still burning in my mind. His dinner insult. "She never did anything for me," echoed a lie that twisted the sacrifices I'd made. I'd given up art school for Bill's career, sold my mother's necklace for Ryan's tuition. My anger sparked in that Rome cafe was now a fire ready to blaze. Daniel flipped through papers, his glasses slipping down his nose. "Joe Bill set up a trust fund for you," he said, voice steady. "For your security. Ryan's after it, filing for power of attorney." My heart stopped, the coffee's bitter scent anchoring me. A trust fund Bill never told me. I pictured Ryan's smirk at my birthday dinner, his hands shoving my travel documents into his bag, promising to handle everything. His greed tied to his failed business ventures came into focus, debts he'd hidden, loans I'd given him, never repaid. My fingers tightened, nails digging in. "He's stealing Bill's gift," I said, voice low. Daniel nodded, his loyalty deepening, his pen scratching as he prepped injunctions. The office's soft jazz radio hummed its notes, weaving through my anger, steadying me like Bill's old promises. I sank into a chair, its leather creaking. A flashback pulled me to Bill years ago, sketching my portrait in our tiny apartment. "I'll keep you safe, Joe," he'd said, his pencil soft against the paper. I'd given up art school for his dreams, believing in our family. His later love, after years of distance, had been my anchor. Now his trust fund was my shield, one Ryan wanted to rip away. My jaw clenched, the coffee cup warm in my hands. "Ryan won't touch it." I vowed, my voice firm, echoing Bill's strength. Daniel looked up, a spark in his eyes. "We'll stop him, Joe," he said, his commitment solid, driven by my fire. The jazz swelled, a reminder of home, of fights worth winning. I pulled out my phone, the screen cold. A voicemail from Ryan waited left hours ago. I hit play, his voice sneering through the static. "I need that fund, Mom. You don't even know what it's worth." My fists clenched the phone, trembling in my grip. His entitlement fed by my sacrifices nights. I went hungry, jewelry I pawned, lit my anger like a match. The voicemail ended with a chill. "I'm finalizing papers tomorrow." My breath caught the office's files blurring. Tomorrow. He was moving fast, his desperation clear-rooted in debts he'd never admitted. The jazz radio faded, my pulse loud in my ears. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a coup. My resolve sharpened a blade, honed by Bill's memory and Daniel's loyalty. I stood the chair scraping the floor. Ryan thought he could erase me, hide me in Rome's chaos while he raided my life. But I'd raised him, loved him, and now I'd fight him. Love wasn't just giving, it was holding your ground. Daniel's pen scratched filing papers to block Ryan's move. The suburbs outside glowed a promise of the home I'd reclaim. Bill's desk in my mind held more than sketches. It held his trust, his love. Ryan's greed wouldn't touch it. The voicemail's words echoed tomorrow. What was he planning next? Was Bill's trust a gift or a curse for Ryan? Ryan's lies roared in my ears. Bill's broken watch silenced my last hope for him. My California home felt like a battlefield. The attic dusty with old paint cans, the living room tense under flickering lamplight. The porch swing creaked outside a distant comfort I couldn't reach. Bill's letter clutched in my hand was a lifeline. Ryan couldn't touch its ink, promising a trust fund he'd tried to steal. I stood by the phone, heart pounding Ryan's voicemail. I need that fund, Mom, still burning in my mind. His dinner insult. She never did anything for me cut deeper with each memory of my sacrifices, skipping meals, selling art supplies for his SAT tutor. Anger churned a storm ready to break. I dialed Ryan, my fingers tight on the receiver. "You're after Bill's trust fund," I said, voice low. He laughed, sharp and cold. "You don't get how the world works now, Mom." The line crackled, then a crash, metal and glass shattering. "This junk's worthless now," he sneered. I froze, picturing Bill's watch, a gift from our early marriage, its silver face now broken. My heart cracked, the sound echoing in my chest. I'd given up art school for Bill, for Ryan, for our family, and now he'd smashed that memory. My breath hitched, anger shifting to resolve. Ryan's greed, fueled by his failed business debts, had turned him into a stranger. I hung up the receiver, clunking lamplight flickering on my trembling hands. Sophie bounded down from the attic, her sneakers thudding. "Grandma." I found something she said, voice trembling, holding out a sealed envelope with Bill's handwriting, "For Joe." My eyes stung recalling Sophie's letter to me, praising our farmers' market walks where I'd told her art stories. She opened it, revealing Bill's words, a trust fund for my security, hidden to protect me. Emily, standing nearby, gasped, her face pale. "Dad's been lying forever," Sophie whispered. I nodded, my resolve hardening. Bill's love, his regret for his early distance, shone through the letter. I'd sacrificed my dreams for him, for Ryan, believing it built a family. Now Ryan's destruction of the watch proved he'd never valued it. Emily touched my arm, her eyes wet. "I'm with you, Mom," she said, her guilt over missing my strength tied to that missed 30th birthday, fading into support. The living room's lamplight cast shadows, the air thick with our unity. Sophie's loyalty, rooted in our shared moments, glowed in her fierce eyes. Emily's support, born from her remorse, was a bridge rebuilt. Ryan's greed had fractured our bond, his smashed watch, a final betrayal. The subclimax hit me. This letter was my weapon proof he'd tried to steal my life. I stood the floor creaking and vowed, he's done stealing from me. Emily and Sophie nodded their hands, finding mine, a family forming in the wreckage. My anger, once a wildfire, now burned steady, a beacon for action. Emily's phone buzzed, her eyes widening as she showed me a forged document dated tomorrow, planning Ryan's power of attorney grab. My breath caught the lamplight glinting off the letter in my hand. Ryan's desperation, his debts piling up, had pushed him to this. I pictured him at my birthday dinner, smirking after calling me a burden, now smashing Bill's watch to prove his control. But love wasn't just giving, it was fighting. Bill's letter, Sophie's loyalty, Emily's support, they were my strength. The porch swing's faint creak called me back to the home I'd reclaim. Emily's discovery chilled me. What was Ryan signing tomorrow? Did I lose a son or save myself? Ryan's forged document was a blade. My family's love was my armor. Daniel Cohen's law office was a fortress of files, the sharp scent of coffee cutting through the clutter. Late afternoon sun streamed through the window, painting the California suburbs gold, steadying my nerves. Bill's letter, tucked in my pocket, burned like a torch, its words my trust fund guiding my fight. Ryan's voicemail sneering, "I need that fund." Mom echoed his smashed watch, a fresh wound. I'd given up art school, for Bill sold my mother's necklace for Ryan's college, and now he was after everything. My fingers grazed the letter resolve hardening. The office's coffee pot hissed, grounding me as I stood ready to reclaim my home. Daniel adjusted his glasses, papers rustling. "Joe, we're filing injunctions," he said, voice firm. "Bill's letter and Emily's testimony, they'll stop Ryan's power of attorney grab." Emily beside me nodded, her face tight with guilt. She'd believed Ryan's lies about my mind tied to that missed 30th birthday when I worked double shifts. Now her testimony was her redemption. "You're doing right, Joe," she said, her hand brushing mine. I recalled Rose's story, her voice sharp in my memory. "I lost my daughter once. You taught me to fight Joe." Her reconciliation with her own daughter fueled her loyalty now. Daniel's pen scratched his commitment deepening, driven by my strength. The coffee's bitter scent steadied me, my anger at Ryan's lies. She never did anything for me, shifting to strategic resolve. Sophie burst in her sneakers, squeaking, holding her phone. "Grandma, look," she said, eyes wide, showing me Ryan's email to a lawyer, power of attorney's set for tomorrow. My breath caught the words confirming his scheme to steal Bill's trust fund. Sophie's vigilance rooted in our farmers' market walks where I'd shared art stories shone in her fierce gaze. "He's not getting away with this," she said, her loyalty afire. My heart swelled, Emily and Sophie my anchors against Ryan's greed. I stood the chair creaking, ready to face him. Daniel nodded, his voice calm. "We've got him, Joe." The office's warmth, the jazz radio's soft hum, felt like a promise. I was no longer the woman Ryan stranded in Rome. The drive home was quiet, eucalyptus breeze slipping through the car window, calming my nerves. My home's yellow walls came into view, neighbor lights glowing like stars. I stepped out the gravel crunching and saw Ryan at my doorstep, his face twisted. "You're holding me back, Mom," he shouted, his voice slicing through the evening air. My chest tightened, his words echoing his birthday dinner insult. "You're a burden." But I stood tall, Bill's letter, heavy in my pocket. "Get out, Ryan," I said, my voice steady. He sneered, stepping closer, his breath hot. "You don't even know what you're losing." My resolve held a steel rod in my spine, but his words stung, a reminder of the son I'd raised now, lost to debt and greed. Emily grabbed my arm, her support unwavering. "Leave her alone." She snapped, her guilt transformed into strength. Rosa met us on the porch, her silver earrings glinting. "Joe, the neighbors are with you," she said, gesturing to the glowing lights across the street. She shared stories of my kindness, slow dancing at block parties, baking pies for new families. "You're our heart," she said, her voice thick, echoing her own fight to reconnect with her daughter. Neighbors nodded their murmurs, a soft chorus. Sophie stood close, her phone still clutched Ryan's email, a weapon in her hand. I faced my home, the porch swing creaking faintly, and declared, "Ryan won't steal my home." My voice rang clear, neighbors' faces bright with support. Emily squeezed my hand, Sophie's eyes fierce. My resolve solidified, a fortress built on their love. Ryan's email, Sophie's find, burned in my mind. His desperation tied to his failed business had pushed him to this, forging documents, smashing Bill's watch, shouting, "I held him back." But love wasn't just giving, it was standing firm. Bill's letter, Emily's testimony, Sophie's loyalty, Rosa's rally, they were my army. The eucalyptus breeze faded, my home's yellow glow a beacon. Ryan thought he could erase me, but I was ready to fight. Sophie's voice broke the silence, sharp and urgent. "Grandma Ryan's car, it's parked at the house. The lights are on inside." My heart skipped. What was he doing there? Can my family's love outshine Ryan's greed? Ryan stood in my living room claiming my life. Bill's letter would take it back. My living room glowed, lavender candles flickering on the coffee table, their scent clashing with the tension. Coffee mugs, my old collection from years of family breakfasts, sat scattered, their chipped edges, a reminder of warmer days. Outside, neighbors whispered their voices, a soft hum amplifying the weight of what was coming. Bill's trust fund letter. My shield glowed in my hands, its ink ready to expose Ryan's greed. His words, "I deserve that fund for putting up with you," already echoed in my mind from his voicemail, his smashed watch a fresh scar. I stood by the couch, my heart a drum resolve peaking. Ryan thought he'd buried me in Rome, but I was here fierce and righteous, ready to reclaim my life. I called Emily and Sophie to the living room, the floor creaking under my steps. "We need to talk," I said, voice steady, holding up Bill's letter. Emily sat, her eyes red from guilt over believing Ryan's lies tied to that missed 30th birthday when I worked late. Sophie perched beside her, her sneakers tapping her loyalty rooted in our farmers' market walks where I'd shared art stories. I read aloud Bill's words clear. "This trust fund is for Joe's security, not to be touched." Sophie gasped, coffee mugs clinking as her hand hit the table. "Dad planned this," she whispered, voice trembling. Emily's jaw tightened, her support for me now, a rock. Before I could finish, the front door slammed open, Ryan bursting in his face, twisted. "You're confused, Mom," he shouted. "I deserve that fund." His voice cracked the air, neighbors' murmurs rising outside. My pulse raced, but I stood tall, the letter heavy in my hand. I stepped forward, candles flickering, and faced Ryan. "You lied," I said, voice like steel. "Emails claiming I'm losing it, forged documents, smashing Bill's watch." I listed his sins, each one a weight lifted. Ryan's eyes darted, his desperation clear, tied to debts from his failed business. Emily stood, her voice sharp. "I missed your strength, Mom, for too long," she said, rejecting Ryan. Sophie jumped up, her defiance blazing. "You're no dad of mine," she snapped, her words, cutting rooted in her love for me. Neighbors' whispers grew louder, their faces pressed to windows, catching every word. Ryan's face reddened, his hands clenched. "I deserve that fund for putting up with you." He roared, his justification a slap, evoking outrage in my chest, and I knew in anyone listening. The coffee mugs trembled, the room's warmth turning cold. The subclimax crashed over me. Ryan's words, his entitlement, shattered the last thread of our bond. I held up the letter, my voice ringing. "This is Bill's gift. To me, not you." The neighbor's hum swelled, shaming Ryan as he faltered, his justification falling flat. He stormed toward the door, his boots thudding, but paused, pulling out his phone. His fingers flew, sending a text that buzzed my phone instantly. "You'll regret this." He slammed the door, the sound echoing, candles flickering wildly. I stood tall, Emily and Sophie beside me, their hands finding mine. Rosa, watching from the corner, nodded her pride, reflecting her own reconciled strength with her daughter. The living room held us, its yellow walls, a fortress, my resolve, a fire no one could douse. Ryan's text burned in my phone, a threat hinting at a final move. His greed, fueled by debts he'd hidden, had unraveled him. Emily's rejection, born from her guilt over misunderstanding me, sealed our bond. Sophie's defiance, tied to our shared stories, was my light. Rosa's presence, her own fight mirrored in mine, steadied me. I'd sacrificed art school for Bill, my mother's necklace for Ryan, believing love built a family. Now I saw the truth love was fighting, not just giving. The coffee mug symbols of past warmth sat silent, their chips, a reminder of what Ryan broke. Neighbors' voices faded, but their support lingered, a community I'd nurtured. I clutched Bill's letter, its weight my shield. Ryan thought he could claim my life, but I'd claimed it back here in front of family and neighbors. The lavender candles flickered, their light steady despite the storm. Emily's hand squeezed mine, Sophie's eyes fierce with pride. Rosa's nod was a quiet cheer, her own daughter's reconciliation a mirror to my fight. Ryan's text pulsed a shadow I'd face soon. What was his next move? Did the truth break him or free me? Ryan thought Rome would break me. Today I'd break his lies with fire. The morning sun poured over my suburban California home, bright and unforgiving, catching the wilting hydrangeas in a defiant glow. The fire pit smoked in the yard, its embers ready a relic from block parties where neighbors laughed. Police cars lined the street, their radios crackling softly, a hum of authority. Bill's sketchbook lay open on the living room table, its pages watching as I prepared to reclaim my life. Ryan's text, "You'll regret this," burned in my phone, his smashed watch and cruel shout, "I deserve the fund," fueling my resolve. I stood by the front door, Bill's trust fund letter in my pocket, my heart a steady drum. I wasn't the woman stranded in Rome anymore. I was triumphant, unyielding, ready to take back my home. Daniel Cohen stood beside me, his suit crisp papers in hand. Emily flanked my other side, her eyes fierce, her guilt over missing my strength now a protective fire. Sophie, my granddaughter, hovered nearby, her pride rooted in our farmers' market walks and art stories, her presence a spark. The police officers' badges glinting waited at the driveway's edge, their faces firm. Ryan's car screeched to a stop, gravel crunching. He stormed out, face twisted, his desperation clear debts from his failed business, driving him to this. "You should have stayed in Rome," he snarled, shoving me hard. My shoulder hit the doorframe, pain flaring, but I stood firm, heart pounding. The police moved in radios, buzzing, grabbing his arms. Ryan Larson stepped back, one officer barked. My chest burned, outrage mixing with resolve. Ryan's shove, his words were a final betrayal, a slap to every sacrifice, my mother's necklace, my art school dreams. I stepped into the yard, the fire pit smoke curling around me. Neighbors gathered their murmurs, rising faces lit with shock. I pulled out Bill's letter, its ink my shield, and raised my voice. "Ryan tried to steal this trust fund," I said, holding it high. "Bill left it for me, not him." Emily nodded, her hand on my arm, her support healing the rift of her missed 30th birthday. Sophie's eyes blazed proud as she clutched her phone, Ryan's forged document still fresh. I lit a match, the flame hissing, and dropped Ryan's childhood photo into the fire pit. "You're no son of mine," I said, my voice clear, the fire crackling as the picture curled. Neighbors gasped their whispers, a chorus of judgment. Ryan's face paled, his hands twitching, his greed collapsing under the weight of truth. Daniel stepped forward, his voice authoritative. "Ryan Larson, this restraining order bars you from this property," he said, handing him the papers. Ryan stumbled, the fight draining from him, his debts and lies exposed. The police tightened their grip, guiding him to his car. "This is my home," I said, voice steady. The fire pit smoke rising like my liberation. Neighbors cheered their applause, a warm wave echoing the block parties where I danced, shared pies. Emily hugged me, her tears wet against my cheek. "I'm here, Mom," she whispered, fully committed. Sophie grinned, inspired, her loyalty my light. Daniel nodded his legal victory, sealed his respect for me, a quiet strength. The fire pit glowed its embers, a symbol of my triumph. As Ryan's car pulled away, tires squealing, I knelt by the fire pit, the ashes settling. My fingers brushed a scrap, Bill's handwriting, faint, "You're enough." My breath caught tears pricking. Bill's love, his regret for his early distance shone through a final gift. Ryan's aggression, his shove, his greed, they'd crumbled. Emily's protection. Sophie's pride, Daniel's loyalty, they'd built me up. I'd sacrificed everything for Ryan, believing love was giving. Now I knew it was fighting too. The neighbors' cheers faded, the police radios quieting my home's hydrangeas, standing tall despite their wilt. Bill's note glinted in the ashes. What else did he leave me? Did I burn a son or light my own way? Ryan's photo was ashes, but my heart bloomed anew. Emily and Sophie were my family now. My California home glowed hydrangeas, blooming in the yard, their petals bright against the morning sun. Lavender candles flickered on the living room table, their scent weaving through the air, a nurturing spirit reborn. The porch swing creaked outside, holding memories of Bill's laughter love that endured despite his early distance. Ryan's absence after his shove and snarling, "You should have stayed in Rome," left a quiet triumph. I stood by the window, My hands steady Bill's note. "You're enough" etched in my mind. I wasn't the woman stranded in Rome, nor the mother crushed by Ryan's insults. I was liberated, ready to forge a new legacy with those who saw my worth. I knelt in the garden, replanting hydrangeas, the earth's scent grounding me. Emily worked beside me, her fingers caked with soil. "I'll never miss you again, Mom," she said, her voice soft, healing the rift from her missed 30th birthday when I'd worked late to keep us afloat. Her guilt, once heavy, had lifted her commitment, now a warm light. I smiled, my heart light, the dirt cool under my nails. "We're here now," I said, our hands brushing as we packed the soil. The hydrangeas stood tall, a symbol of our mended bond, their blooms defying Ryan's shadow. Emily's eyes shone her peace found in our shared work, the morning breeze carrying hope. Sophie bounded out her sneakers, crunching gravel, holding a folded letter and a drawing. "Grandma, this is for you," she said, her voice bright. The letter praised my art stories, our farmers' market walks where I'd described painting dreams I'd given up for Bill. The drawing showed me Emily and Sophie laughing, Ryan nowhere in sight. My throat tightened. Sophie's loyalty, a beacon rooted in those moments we'd shared. I hugged her, her hair soft against my cheek. Later, I met Daniel Cohen in the living room, candles glowing softly. "I'm rewriting my will," I said, voice firm. "Sophie gets the trust fund's future." Daniel nodded, his loyalty, steadfast pen scratching as he secured my legacy. Sophie grinned, inspired her love for me, a spark for her own dreams. The main climax came that evening. I hosted Emily, Sophie, and Rosa in the living room, the lavender candles casting a warm glow. Coffee mugs clinked as we sat, the air filled with laughter. Rosa, her silver earrings glinting, raised her glass. To Joe's strength, she said, her joy mirroring her reconciled past with her daughter. Emily toasted. "This is our family, Mom." Sophie chimed in. "Forever." I stood the porch swing, creaking outside, and lifted my mug. "This is my family," I said, voice clear, heart full. We laughed, planning a picnic, the room alive with our unity. Ryan's absence, his eviction after his greed and violence, was a quiet victory. My liberation bloomed complete. I leaned back the couch, sighing under me. Emily's commitment had healed her guilt. Sophie's letter and drawing cemented our bond, and Rosa's celebration echoed her own triumph. I'd sacrificed art school jewelry years for Ryan, believing love was giving. Now I knew it was choosing who deserved it. The lavender candles flickered, their light steady, a contrast to the tension Ryan had left. My home. My heart was mine again, filled with those who saw me. Did I lose a son or find my true heart? The sunrise warmed my porch swing. I was finally home, not just in my house, but in myself. The sparrows chirped their song, weaving through the quiet air of my suburban California street. The scent of fresh coffee drifted from my old percolator, its familiar gurgle, a symbol of the continuity I'd fought to preserve. My porch, bathed in the soft light of July 2024, cradled me gently, the swing creaking beneath my weight. Bill's note. "You're enough," now framed on the mantel inside, glowed in my mind like a beacon of my new beginning. Ryan's absence, after his shove and venomous taunts like, "You should have stayed in Rome," left a calm triumph in its wake. I sipped coffee, the mug's warmth steadying my hands, my heart at peace. I was no longer the woman stranded in Rome's chaos, nor the mother crushed by Ryan's cruel, "You're a burden" at my 70th birthday dinner. I was liberated, confident, living for myself, my self-worth, reclaimed like a flag planted firmly in the ground. I leaned back, the swing's creak, a soft echo of Bill's laughter from years ago, his love enduring despite the distance of our early marriage. Those days when I gave up art school to support his career felt like a lifetime ago, yet they shaped me. I'd poured my heart into Ryan and Emily, selling my mother's sapphire necklace for Ryan's college skipping meals, to buy his school supplies, believing love was measured in sacrifice. Rome had been a trap, Ryan's text. "See if you can manage alone a calculated betrayal to seize Bill's trust fund." But I'd fought back, burning his childhood photo in the fire pit, declaring, "You're no son of mine." Bill's note found in the ashes was my anchor, its words a quiet affirmation of my strength. The percolator gurgled, grounding my peace, the coffee's bitter warmth a reminder of the life I'd rebuilt. My home's yellow walls, once dimmed by Ryan's intrusion, now glowed with purpose, the hydrangeas outside blooming defiantly despite their earlier wilt. Emily and Sophie arrived, their footsteps crunching on the gravel driveway, a sound as familiar as my own heartbeat. Emily carried a wicker picnic basket, her smile bright, her eyes free of the guilt that had haunted her since she believed Ryan's lies about my mind. That guilt tied to my absence at her 30th birthday when I worked double shifts to keep us afloat after Bill's death had dissolved in her support during my fight. "We're planning a picnic. Mom," she said, setting the basket down, her voice soft but steady. Like the old days, just us. Sophie, my granddaughter, hugged me tightly, her hair brushing my cheek. "It'll be like our farmers' market days." Grandma, she said, her eyes sparkling with admiration, rooted in the art stories I'd shared during our walks, tales of dreams I'd traded for family. Her letter to me praising my strength sat folded in my pocket, a treasure beside Bill's note. Rosa followed, her silver earrings catching the light, her pride mirroring her own reconciled past with her daughter. "Ryan's gone, Joe," she said, her voice thick with joy. "Jobless, holed up in some motel. You did it." I nodded, my voice calm, a quiet power in its steadiness. "He's gone. We're enough." We sat on the porch, the swing creaking as Emily unpacked the basket, pulling out sandwiches and a thermos of lemonade. The air smelled of fresh earth from the replanted hydrangeas, a soft breeze carrying hope. Sophie laughed, describing a picnic spot by the creek where we'd once sketched together, her pencil mimicking mine. "You should paint again, Grandma," she said, her voice hopeful, inspiring her own future as much as mine. Emily poured lemonade, her hands steady her bond with me, sealed through our shared fight against Ryan's greed. Rosa raised her glass, her eyes bright. To Joe's strength, she toasted her joy, a reflection of her own triumph over years of estrangement. I lifted my mug, the coffee's warmth spreading through me. "To family," I said, my voice clear, ringing with truth. We clinked glasses, laughter spilling like sunlight, the porch swing swaying in rhythm with our joy. Ryan's absence, his job loss, his isolation, was a distant shadow, a justice served without my needing to dwell on it. I stepped to the porch's edge, coffee mug in hand, and watched the sunrise paint the sky pink and gold. The sparrows flitted from tree to tree, their chirps a chorus of renewal. Emily's picnic plan, Sophie's admiration, Rosa's pride, they were my true legacy, a family rebuilt on love that saw me, not used me. I'd poured years into Ryan, believing love was giving everything: my art, my savings, my heart. His lies, his smashed watch, his shove had severed that tie, but they'd also freed me. Rosa's reconciled past, her daughter's return mirrored my own journey, her presence a quiet cheer. Emily's commitment, Sophie's letter and drawing, they were my heart's new home. The coffee percolator's gurgle slowed, a steady pulse matching my calm. I'd fought for my home, my name, my story, and won. The suburban streets stretched quiet before me, neighbors' houses glowing in the dawn. I thought of Bill, his regret for his early distance, his trust fund, a final act of love. His note, "You're enough," sat framed inside a truth I now believed. Love wasn't just sacrifice, it was strength, choosing who deserved my heart. I sipped coffee, the sunrise warm on my face, my story, mine alone, built on resilience and love. Did I raise a son or raise myself? The swing creaked behind me. Emily and Sophie's laughter a soft melody. The picnic basket sat ready, promising a day of stories and sunlight. But a shadow lingered, a question unanswered. Ryan was gone, but his schemes had stirred something deeper, a truth I hadn't yet faced. What else was out there waiting for me to claim? The sunrise on my porch swing felt like a new chapter. My heart finally free from Ryan's betrayal, wrapped in the love of Emily, Sophie, and Rosa. Bill's note. Your enough framed on my mantle reminded me that my sacrifices, though unseen by some, built a legacy of strength. In life, family bonds are tested, but love thrives when we choose those who see our worth, like neighbors sharing coffee at a block party. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to grow to plant new roots, as I did with my hydrangeas. If this story touched you, please share your own memories of family or resilience in the comments. Your voice, like mine, matters.